The alarm bells rang through the monitoring station like angry metal birds. Jinwoo jumped up from his chair so fast that his coffee spilled across the control panel. For 15 years, he had watched the empty screens that showed the forbidden zone. Nothing ever happened there. Nothing could happen there. The space was too dangerous for any living thing to survive. But now, something was moving in the darkness. Jinwoo wiped the coffee away with shaking hands and looked at the screen again. The green dot was still there, moving slowly through the twisted space where reality bent and broke. He pressed the red button that would call his supervisor and tried to breathe normally. "This is Monitor Station 7, he said into his radio. "We have a contact in Sector 4 of the Forbidden Zone." The voice that came back sounded tired. "Jinwoo, you know that's impossible. Check your equipment." "I already did. 3 times. Jinwoo's voice cracked a little. "Something is definitely out there." 500 light-years away, Fleet Commander Nari was eating her evening meal when the emergency message reached her flagship. She put down her fork and read the report twice. Then she called her science officer to the bridge. "Lieutenant Minho, I need you to look at something," she said when the young man arrived. His uniform was wrinkled like he had been sleeping. "Tell me what you see here." Minho looked at the sensor data on Nari's screen. His eyes went wide. "Commander, this shows a ship in the Forbidden Zone, but that's not possible." "That's what I thought too. Run a full scan of that area. Use everything we have." Minho nodded and ran to his station. Within minutes, their most powerful sensors were pointing toward the dark space that no one was supposed to enter. The results made no sense at all. "Commander," Minho said, his voice very quiet, "the readings keep changing. First it shows a small ship, then a big one. Sometimes it looks like it's there. Sometimes it doesn't. Our computers can't figure out what it is." Nari felt cold fear in her stomach. The Forbidden Zone had been closed off for 3,000 years. Ancient warnings said that terrible things lived in that twisted space. Things that could destroy worlds. No one knew exactly what was in there, but everyone knew to stay away. On the research station called Nexus 7, scientist So-young was having the same problem. She had been studying energy patterns from deep space when her instruments picked up something strange from the Forbidden Zone. The energy signatures were unlike anything in her databases. "This is impossible," she said to herself, running the scans again. The ship was moving through space that should tear apart any normal vessel. The quantum storms in that region could rip atoms apart. The reality fractures could send a ship into dimensions that didn't exist. Yet something was traveling through it all like it was empty space. So-young opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council's emergency network. Within an hour, she was talking to officials from 12 different worlds. "Are you certain about these readings?" asked Counselor Woo-sung from his office on the capital world. "I've checked everything 5 times, So-young replied. "The ship is real, and it's heading toward inhabited space." The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council happened faster than anyone expected. Representatives from 12 major species connected through quantum communication links. Each one brought their own sensor data from the mysterious ship. None of the data matched. The Altarians, with their crystal-based technology, detected quantum fluctuations that suggested the ship existed in multiple realities at once. The cetaceans, who lived in the deep oceans of their water world, said their biosensors showed temporal distortions around the vessel. The crystalline collective insisted the ship was phasing between dimensions. "This makes no sense," said Counselor Hyejin, speaking for the Peaceful Alliance. "How can we all be detecting different things?" Admiral Kang Ho, the highest military officer in the United Species Defense Fleet, looked grim. "Maybe the question isn't what we're detecting. Maybe it's what's detecting us." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the stories about the Forbidden Zone. Long ago, something terrible had happened there. The space itself had been damaged in ways that science couldn't explain. Ships that went in never came out. Probes sent into the region stopped working immediately. Even long-range sensors couldn't penetrate very far into the twisted darkness. "We need to know what we're dealing with," said Fleet Commander Nari from her ship. "I'm moving my fleet to the outer boundary. If this thing comes out of the zone, we need to be ready." "Ready for what?" asked Counselor Bongjun from the merchant guilds. "We don't even know if it's real." Dr. Tae-hyun, who studied ancient history, had been quiet during the meeting. Now he spoke up. "I've been looking at the energy patterns. They remind me of something from the old records, from before the Forbidden Zone was created." "What do you mean?" Admiral Kang-ho asked. 3,000 years ago, there was a war. A terrible war that nearly destroyed this part of the galaxy. One species was completely eliminated. Their worlds were turned to dust. But there were always rumors that some of them escaped. The meeting room grew very quiet. "You're talking about the humans," whispered Counselor Hyejin. "The energy signatures match what little we have in the archives about human technology," Dr. Tae-hyun continued. "But that's impossible. Humans were a weak species. They barely had space travel when they were destroyed. There's no way they could have survived in the Forbidden Zone." Yet as the hours passed, more monitoring stations reported the same thing. Something was coming out of the dark space where nothing should be able to live. It was heading toward the outer colonies at a steady speed, and every few hours, it sent out a simple radio signal. The message was short and came in several galactic languages. "This is the Earth vessel Endurance. We seek peaceful contact and safe harbor. Please respond." Earth was the human home world. Earth had been destroyed 700 years ago. Jinwoo sat at his monitoring station, watching the green dot move closer to normal space. His hands shook as he poured himself another cup of coffee. Whatever was coming, it claimed to be human. But humans were supposed to be extinct. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the dead don't stay dead. And sometimes, the weak become something much stronger than anyone could imagine. 3 days had passed since the impossible ship first appeared on the sensors. The vessel calling itself the Endurance continued its steady movement toward the outer colonies. Every hour brought it closer to inhabited worlds, and every hour brought more questions that no one could answer. Admiral Kang-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the star charts. The unknown ship would reach the first outer colony world in less than 2 weeks. He couldn't let that happen without knowing what they were dealing with. "Captain Hyunwoo," he said into his communication device, "your mission is approved. Take the Whisper's Edge and get as close as you can. I want to know everything about that ship. Captain Hyunwoo was the best scout pilot in the fleet. His stealth ship could get close to anything without being detected. At least, that's what everyone believed." As he guided his vessel toward the mysterious ship, Hyunwoo wondered if his stealth technology would work against whatever was coming from the Forbidden Zone. The journey took 18 hours. As the Whisper's Edge moved closer to the unknown vessel, Hyunwoo's instruments began picking up more detailed readings. What he saw made his blood run cold. "Command, this is Hyunwoo," he reported back to Admiral Kang-ho. "I can see the ship clearly now. It's definitely of human design." There was silence on the communication channel for several seconds. "Say that again, Captain." Admiral Kang-ho's voice was very quiet. "The ship matches the old human ship designs from our historical databases, but it's been changed, improved. The hull has materials I don't recognize, and there are energy patterns running through it like veins." Back at Central Command, intelligence analyst Yuna was already pulling up every file about human technology. She had studied the extinct species as part of her training, but no one expected that knowledge to ever be useful. Humans had been weak. Their technology was basic. They had been eliminated easily during the Great Purge 700 years ago. But the ship approaching from the Forbidden Zone was definitely human in origin. The basic shape was right. The way the hull sections fit together matched human engineering. Even the writing on the side of the ship was in human languages. "This doesn't make sense," Yuna said to her assistant Minjae. "According to our records, humans never developed anything like this. Their most advanced ships were simple metal tubes with basic engines. Dr. Taehyun was brought in to examine the images Captain Hyunwoo was sending back." The old historian looked at the pictures for a long time before speaking. "The basic design is definitely human," he said finally. "But look at these modifications. The hull is made from materials that don't exist in our databases. The energy systems are more advanced than anything we use. This ship is centuries ahead of anything humans ever built." Captain Hyunwoo continued his approach, staying as hidden as possible, but as he got within scanning range of the human ship, something unexpected happened. His own instrument suddenly showed a complete scan of his vessel appearing on his screens. The human ship was scanning him back, and doing it better than he could scan them. "Command, they know I'm here," Hyunwoo reported. "They just sent me a complete technical readout of my own ship. They know everything about the Whisper's Edge. Engine type, crew size, weapon systems, even what I had for breakfast this morning." Admiral Kang-ho felt his stomach drop. If the humans could scan through their best stealth technology, then they had capabilities far beyond what anyone had imagined. "Captain, are they showing any hostile intent?" he asked. "No, sir. They're just watching me, like they're curious." On board the Endurance, Captain Yoonji looked at the screens showing the small scout ship that was trying to hide from them. She smiled at her crew. "They're using primitive stealth technology," she said. "Cute, but not very effective. Should we say hello?" Her science officer, Jae-won, nodded. "The little ship seems harmless. The pilot looks nervous, though." Captain Yoonji activated the communication system. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Yoonji of the Earthship Endurance. You don't need to hide from us. We mean you no harm." Captain Hyunwoo nearly fell out of his chair when the message came through. The human woman's voice was calm and friendly, speaking in perfect galactic standard language. But what shocked him most was that she had used his real name. "Captain Hyunwoo," the voice continued. "Please don't be afraid. We know you're here to learn about us. We're happy to answer your questions." "How do they know my name?" Hyunwoo whispered to his crew. The response came immediately, as if the humans could hear him. "We can read the identification codes on your ship, Captain. Your name is in your ship's database. We're not reading your mind, if that's what you're worried about." Admiral Kang-ho authorized first visual contact. Within minutes, Captain Hyunwoo's ship was connected to the Endurance through a quantum communication link. The image that appeared on the screen looked completely human. Captain Yoonji appeared to be a woman in her 30s with short black hair and kind eyes. She was wearing a uniform that looked like it was made from some kind of living material that shifted colors slightly as she moved. Behind her, the bridge of her ship was visible, and it was unlike anything in the galactic databases. The walls seemed to curve in impossible ways. Energy flowed through transparent tubes like glowing blood. The control panels didn't have buttons or switches, but responded to the crew's gestures like they were alive. "Hello?" Captain Yoonji said with a smile. "It's been a very long time since we've talked to anyone from the outside. How is the galaxy doing?" Captain Hyunwoo didn't know how to answer that question. How do you explain 700 years of galactic history to someone who was supposed to be extinct? "We thought all humans were dead," he said finally. "Captain," Yoonji's smile became a little sad. "You destroyed our worlds, yes. But you never really understood what we were becoming. The attack forced us to retreat to the only place you couldn't follow us. The Forbidden Zone became our new home. But nothing can live in that space," Hyunwoo protested. "The quantum storms, the reality fractures. It's instant death for any living thing." "For most living things, yes," Captain Yoonji agreed. "But we learn to adapt. The zone that you find so dangerous has taught us many things. We don't just live in space anymore, Captain. We've learned to become part of it." The communication ended with Captain Yoonji's promise that her people wanted only peaceful contact, but her words stayed with everyone who heard them. Humans had not just survived in the Forbidden Zone, they had changed. They had become something new. Admiral Kang Ho looked at the reports from Captain Hyun-woo and felt a cold fear in his heart. The galaxy had eliminated humanity because they were becoming too dangerous. Now they had returned, and they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full of tension. Representatives from every major species sat around the great circular table, but no one seemed able to agree on anything. The discovery of surviving humans had turned the galaxy's understanding upside down. Counselor Ji-hoon of the Neutral Territories spoke first. His voice was sharp with fear. The ancient laws are clear. Humanity was eliminated for good reasons. They were becoming too dangerous. If they have survived and grown stronger, they represent an even greater threat now. Counselor Suman from the Science Coalition disagreed. We don't know their intentions yet. The ship has shown no hostile actions. They're asking for peaceful contact. Maybe we should listen before we act. Admiral Kang Ho watched the arguments from his position at the military table. He had read all the historical files about the Great Purge. Humanity had been destroyed because they were advancing too quickly. Their technology was growing at a rate that scared the older species. There had been fears that humans would soon become powerful enough to threaten galactic stability. What if we were wrong 700 years ago? Asked Counselor Minji from the Outer Rim Worlds. What if destroying Earth was a mistake? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some species had participated in the Great Purge. Others had simply allowed it to happen. No one wanted to admit they might have committed genocide against an innocent people. While the council argued, Captain Hyun-woo remained near the human ship. He had been authorized to begin formal contact procedures, but he was nervous. Every scan of the Endurance showed technology that was impossible to understand. Captain Yoonji, he said over the communication link, the Galactic Council would like to establish formal diplomatic contact. Would you be willing to meet with our representatives? The human captain appeared on his screen again. She was sitting in what looked like a garden instead of a ship's bridge. Plants with glowing leaves grew around her chair, and small lights floated in the air like fireflies. We would be happy to meet with your council, she said. But first, you should know something. We've been watching the galaxy for a very long time. We know about your governments, your wars, your secret projects. We know why you destroyed our worlds. Captain Hyun-woo felt his mouth go dry. You've been watching us? The Forbidden Zone isn't really forbidden to us anymore, Captain Yoonji explained. We can see out of it just fine. We've been observing your civilizations, learning about how the galaxy has changed since we were forced to leave. This news sent shockwaves through the council when Hyun-woo reported it. The idea that humans had been secretly watching everything was terrifying to many species. Dr. Tae-hyun was brought in to help prepare for the formal meeting. As the galaxy's expert on human culture, he was supposed to understand how to talk to them. But the more he learned about the surviving humans, the less he understood. According to our historical records, humans were emotional and unpredictable, he told the council. They made decisions based on feelings rather than logic. They were individualistic and difficult to control. But these humans seemed different. Captain Yoonji agreed to bring her ship to Harmony Point, the neutral station where first contact meetings were usually held. But she insisted on bringing the Endurance itself, rather than using a smaller shuttle. Our ship is part of us now, she explained to Captain Hyun-woo. We don't separate from it the way you do with your vessels. When the Endurance arrived at Harmony Point, it caused immediate problems for the station's systems. The human ship was somehow interfacing with the station's computers without permission. Security Chief Do-yoon panicked when he realized that the humans had access to all of the station's files. They're not attacking our systems, he reported to Admiral Kang Ho. They're just connecting to them, like they're saying hello, the human delegation that came aboard the station was small. Captain Yoonji led the group, accompanied by her science officer Jaewon and a woman named Hana, who served as their cultural ambassador. All three looked completely normal, but there was something about them that made everyone uncomfortable. Station sensors couldn't get consistent readings on the humans. Sometimes they appeared solid and normal, sometimes they seemed to be partially transparent. Some of the more sensitive species reported that the humans felt too real and not quite there at the same time. The formal meeting took place in the station's main conference room. Representatives from 12 species attended, with Admiral Kang Ho and Counselor Dong Hyun serving as the primary hosts. Captain Yoonji spoke for her people. "We want to thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We know our survival comes as a shock. We're not here to cause trouble or seek revenge for what happened to our worlds." "Then what do you want?" asked Counselor Jahoon. "We want to come home," Captain Yoonji said simply. "The galaxy is our home too. We've been away long enough." Dr. Jaewon, the human science officer, was invited to explain how humanity had survived. In the Forbidden Zone, his presentation was unlike anything the Council had ever heard. When our worlds were destroyed, a small group of our people had already begun experimenting with dimensional technology. He began. "We were trying to understand the nature of space itself. The attack forced us to use that incomplete technology to escape." "You fled to the Forbidden Zone," Admiral Kang Ho said. "We didn't flee there," Dr. Jaewon corrected. "We fell into it. Our experimental drives malfunctioned and pulled us into the twisted space. We expected to die immediately. But you survived. More than survived. We discovered that the dangerous space anomalies were actually doorways, passages to dimensions that exist alongside normal space. Over time, we learned to use these doorways. We learned to exist in multiple dimensions at once." The revelation sent a chill through the assembled representatives. Dimensional technology was theoretical at best for most species. The idea that humans had been using it for centuries was terrifying. Ambassador Hana delivered the final part of their presentation. "We want you to understand that we hold no grudges against anyone. The attack on our worlds happened long ago. Most of the people responsible are dead now. We're not interested in revenge." "Then what are your intentions?" Counselor Suman asked. "We've spent 7 centuries learning about the nature of reality itself," Hana replied. "We've discovered things that could benefit all species. We want to share that knowledge. We want to help the galaxy move forward." The meeting ended with more questions than answers. The humans seemed peaceful, but their capabilities were unknown. They claimed to have been watching the galaxy, which meant they knew secrets that could destabilize governments. As the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, Captain Yoonji made one final statement that would be remembered for generations. "We never really left," she said to the assembled representatives. "We've been here all along, watching over our old home. We've decided it's time to stop hiding." The words were both a promise and a warning. Humanity had returned, but they had returned as something far beyond what they had once been. The weeks following first contact were filled with confusion and fear throughout the galaxy. News of humanity's survival spread quickly, and reactions varied wildly from world to world. Some species wanted immediate military action. Others called for careful study. A few suggested that maybe the humans should be welcomed back. Admiral Kang Ho had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history around Harmony Point Station. Ships from every major military power floated in formation, their weapons pointed at the small human vessel. But everyone knew the weapons might be useless against technology they didn't understand. General Kyung Min, head of the War Council, had been pushing for immediate attack. "Every day we wait, they get stronger," he argued in the daily briefings. "We should destroy them now before they become impossible to stop." But Dr. Eugen, the galaxy's leading expert on advanced technology, disagreed completely. Her analysis of the human demonstrations was terrifying. "Their ship phases in and out of normal space at will," she reported to the Council. "Our weapons are designed to hit targets that exist in 3 dimensions. The humans seem to exist in many dimensions at once." While the politicians argued, strange reports began coming in from colony worlds throughout the galaxy. Ships matching the Endurance's design were being spotted near inhabited systems. They never came close enough for clear contact, but their presence was felt. On the farming world of New Harvest, colonist Gina was working in the fields when she saw a strange ship in the sky. It was there for only a few minutes, but afterward the failing crop irrigation system suddenly began working perfectly. The water pumps that had been broken for months were somehow repaired. Similar reports came from mining stations, research, outposts, and transport routes. Wherever the mysterious ships appeared, problems seemed to solve themselves. Broken equipment was fixed. Dangerous space phenomena became calm. Missing supply shipments appeared exactly where they were needed. Dr. So-Young, monitoring these reports from her research station, began to see a pattern. "They're not just watching us," she told her team. "They're helping us, but they're doing it quietly, so we don't notice." The revelation came during Captain Yunji's second visit to Harmony Point. This time, she had requested a private meeting with only the senior leadership of the Galactic Council. Admiral Kang Ho, Counselor Jihoon, and Chief Diplomat Suk Young attended. "We need to be honest with each other," Captain Yunji began. "You're afraid of us, and you have good reasons to be, but you don't understand what we really want." "Then tell us," Admiral Kang Ho said. Captain Yunji gestured, and the air in the room shimmered. Suddenly, they could see images floating before them like holograms. The images showed galaxy maps, but not like any they had seen before. "This is how we see space," Captain Yunji explained. "What you think of as empty space is actually full of energy patterns, dimensional layers, and quantum fields. Most species can only see and use the surface layer. We've learned to see and use all of them." The images changed to show human ships moving through space that looked nothing like normal space. They traveled through corridors of twisted reality, using currents of energy that other species couldn't even detect. "Over the past 7 centuries, we've been exploring dimensions that you don't know exist," Captain Yunji continued. "We've found incredible things, sources of unlimited energy, ways to travel across the galaxy instantly, methods to heal planets damaged by war or pollution. And you want to share this knowledge," Chief Diplomat Suk Young said. "We want to offer it to those who are ready," Captain Yunja corrected. "Not everyone will choose to accept what we can teach. Some species prefer to remain as they are. We respect that choice." Dr. Jaewon appeared on the communication screen from the Endurance. "Captain, should I show them the real demonstration?" Captain Yunji nodded. "I think it's time they understood." The space around Harmony Point suddenly changed. The stars in the distance began to move, forming new patterns in the sky. The station's artificial gravity became smoother and more comfortable. The air itself felt cleaner and more alive. "What are you doing?" Admiral Kang Ho demanded, reaching for his emergency communicator. "We're showing you what space looks like when it's properly maintained," Dr. Jaewon explained. "The dimensional barriers around this area were damaged by old wars. We've repaired them. The quantum fields were unstable. We've stabilized them. The energy flows were blocked. We've cleared them." The demonstration lasted only a few minutes, but its impact was enormous. When the humans stopped their work, the space around the station returned to normal. But everyone in the meeting had felt the difference. For those brief minutes, everything had felt more real, more alive, more perfect. "This is what we want to offer the galaxy," Captain Yunji said. "Not conquest, not control. Evolution." Ambassador Hana joined the conversation from the human ship. "We've learned that consciousness and reality are connected in ways most species don't understand. When a species becomes aware enough, they can begin to shape the space around them. They can become partners with the universe instead of just living in it." "You're talking about becoming gods," Counselor Jihoon said, his voice barely a whisper. "No," Captain Yunji replied. "We're talking about becoming what all conscious species are meant to become. what you would have become naturally, given enough time. The meeting continued for hours. The humans explained that they had been quietly helping the galaxy for centuries, preventing wars that would have destroyed worlds, stopping plagues that would have wiped out species, fixing problems that governments didn't even know existed. The question now, Captain Yunji said as the meeting ended, is whether you want us to continue working in secret or whether you're ready for us to work openly. Admiral Kang Ho felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The humans were offering to help the galaxy evolve into something greater, but evolution meant change, and change was always frightening. What happens to those who choose not to evolve? He asked. Nothing bad, Ambassador Hana assured him. They continue to exist as they always have. We don't force anyone to change, but we also don't hide from those who are ready to grow. The revelation was complete. Humanity hadn't returned as conquerors or refugees. They had returned as teachers, offering to guide other species toward the same transcendence they had achieved. But the galaxy now had to decide if it was ready to learn what the humans wanted to teach. Some would embrace the opportunity to become something greater. Others would reject it out of fear, and that choice would determine the future of every thinking being in the galaxy. The humans waited patiently for an answer, existing in their multidimensional space, ready to help those who wanted their help and leave alone those who didn't. The ball was now in the galaxy's court. The galaxy stood at a crossroads. 2 months had passed since the humans revealed their true capabilities, and the political situation was getting worse every day. Some worlds wanted to accept the human offer of dimensional evolution. Others demanded immediate military action. Many simply didn't know what to believe. General Kyung-min had finally convinced enough council members to authorize Operation Final Solution. The largest military force in galactic history was being assembled. Ships, weapons, and soldiers from dozens of species were gathering at secret locations throughout inhabited space. We made a mistake 700 years ago, General Kyung-min announced to his senior staff. We didn't finish the job. This time, we won't make the same error. The general's new weapon was called the Reality Anchor. It was designed to lock space into normal three-dimensional patterns, preventing dimensional manipulation. If it worked, the humans would be trapped in normal space where conventional weapons could destroy them. But Dr. Yujin had serious doubts about the plan. Her continued analysis of human technology showed that they were far more advanced than anyone had imagined. General, I don't think you understand what we're dealing with, she warned. The humans don't just use dimensional technology. They've become dimensional beings. Trying to anchor them to normal space might be like trying to force a fish to live on land. Then they'll die like fish on land, General Kyung-min replied. While the military prepared for war, civilian populations were experiencing something completely different. Reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy about beneficial changes happening near human ships. On the industrial world of Iron Mountain, factory worker Seok Jin noticed that the air pollution was clearing up around his city. The massive chemical plants that had poisoned the atmosphere for decades were somehow producing clean exhaust. When investigators checked the factories, they found that nothing had been changed, but the pollution control systems were working at impossible efficiency levels. Similar changes were happening everywhere. Damaged ecosystems were healing themselves. Failing terraforming projects were suddenly successful. Even the space lanes between worlds were becoming safer as dangerous. Anomalies mysteriously disappeared. Dr. So-young was documenting all these changes from her research station. The pattern was clear. Wherever humans went, the fundamental forces of reality became more stable and beneficial to life. It's not just technology, she explained to anyone who would listen. They're actually improving the structure of space itself, making it more friendly to conscious beings. Captain Yunji had requested another meeting with the Galactic Council, but this time the response was different. Half the council members refused to attend. The other half came armed with weapons and accompanied by military escorts. "We know what you're really doing," Councillor Jihoon accused when the meeting began. "You're changing our space without permission. You're altering reality to make us dependent on you." Captain Yoonji looked sad. "We're not altering anything. We're repairing damage that was done long ago. The space around inhabited worlds has been twisted by wars, pollution, and uncontrolled industrial development. We're just fixing what's broken. You're changing us against our will," Admiral Kang-ho said. "No one is being changed," Ambassador Hana replied, appearing on the communication screen. "We're changing the environment to make it healthier, like cleaning polluted air or purifying contaminated water. The people breathing the air and drinking the water remain exactly the same." Dr. Jaewon joined the conversation with disturbing news. "We've detected the military buildup," he reported. "Admiral, your reality anchors won't work the way you think they will." General Kyung-min, who was attending the meeting via secure link, laughed. "We'll see about that. Our scientists have calculated exactly how to trap you in normal space. Your scientists don't understand dimensional physics," Dr. Jaewon said gently. "A reality anchor doesn't force dimensional beings into normal space. It collapses the dimensional barriers entirely. If you use those weapons near inhabited systems, you'll destroy the space that normal matter needs to exist." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're lying," General Kyung-min said, but his voice was less certain. "We can prove it," Captain Yoonji offered. "Let us show you what happens when dimensional barriers collapse in uninhabited space." The demonstration took place in an empty system far from any colonies. The Endurance used its own technology to create a small area where dimensional barriers were collapsed, similar to what the reality anchors would do. The result was catastrophic. Space itself began to twist and tear. Matter stopped following normal, physical laws. Energy patterns went wild. Within minutes, the entire area had become uninhabitable chaos, worse than anything in the original Forbidden Zone. "Your weapons won't trap us," Captain Yoonji explained afterward. "They'll destroy the galaxy." Dr. Eugen's measurements confirmed the demonstration. The reality anchors would indeed cause massive destruction if used near any inhabited areas. General Kyung-min's plan would kill billions of innocent people and leave vast areas of space permanently uninhabitable. The revelation split the military leadership. Some officers still wanted to attack the humans, but others realized that such an attack would be suicide for their own civilizations. Meanwhile, on colony worlds throughout the galaxy, something unexpected was happening. People were beginning to notice the improvements that human presence brought. Better weather, cleaner air, more stable technology, healthier crops. Public opinion began to shift. Citizens who had never seen a human ship still wanted the benefits that human dimensional manipulation provided. Political leaders found themselves caught between military advisors who wanted war and populations who wanted the improvements to continue. Captain Yoonji made one final offer to the divided Galactic Council. "We don't want to force anyone to accept our help," she said. "Species that want us to leave their space alone can mark their territories, and we'll respect those boundaries. Species that want to work with us can open formal diplomatic relations." "And species that want to learn dimensional manipulation?" asked Councillor Sumin, who had become the leader of the pro-human faction. "We'll establish training centers in neutral space. Anyone who wants to learn can come to us. The process is voluntary and reversible. No one will be forced to change." The offer was reasonable, but it still left the galaxy with an impossible choice. Accept the humans and risk unknown consequences. Reject them and lose the benefits they provided. Try to destroy them and risk destroying inhabited space. Some worlds chose to welcome human assistance openly. Others demanded that human ships stay away from their systems. Most remained undecided, hoping someone else would make the choice for them. But as the debate continued, one thing became increasingly clear. The humans weren't waiting for permission to help. They continued their quiet work of repairing damaged space, preventing disasters, and improving conditions wherever they went. The galaxy was changing whether its leaders wanted it to or not. The only real choice was whether to work with the humans or try to stop them. And stopping them might be impossible without destroying everything else in the process. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as gardeners. They wanted to tend the galactic garden and help it grow. But gardens require change, and change is always frightening to those who prefer things to stay exactly as they are. The solution came from the most unexpected source. Junior technician Young-Ho had been working on routine maintenance for Harmony Point's quantum computers when he noticed something strange. The computers were running better than they ever had before. Much better. The processing speed has increased by 30%, he reported to his supervisor, Engineer Myung. But we haven't upgraded anything or changed any settings. Myung ran her own tests and found even more improvements. The station's power systems were more efficient. The life support systems were working at optimal levels. Even the artificial gravity was more stable and comfortable than it had been since the station was built. When did these improvements start? She asked. Young-Ho checked the maintenance logs. 3 days ago, right after the human ship docked here for the council meeting. The discovery changed everything. Dr. So-Young was called in to investigate, and her findings were remarkable. The human ship's presence had somehow optimized every system on the station, not by making changes to the equipment, but by improving the space around the equipment. It's like they tuned the dimensional environment, Dr. So-Young explained to Admiral Kang-Ho. The quantum fields around our technology are now perfectly aligned. Everything works better because the space it operates in is healthier. This revelation finally ended the deadlock in the Galactic Council. The humans weren't trying to control other species through their improvements. They were simply fixing the fundamental problems that made life in space difficult and dangerous. Counselor Dong-Yun, who had remained neutral throughout the debates, called for a final vote. The evidence is clear, he announced. Human presence improves conditions for everyone. They're not asking us to change. They're not trying to control us. They're just making space a better place to live. The vote was closer than anyone expected, but it passed. Humanity would be officially welcomed back into galactic civilization, not as returning refugees, but as partners in building a better future. The formal ceremony took place on a newly constructed station positioned at the boundary between normal space and the former Forbidden Zone. Captain Yoonji led a delegation of 12 human ships out of the dimensional depths for the occasion. Admiral Kang-Ho, now serving as the official military liaison to humanity, watched in amazement as the human fleet emerged from what looked like empty space. The ship seemed to step out of invisible doorways, becoming solid and real as they entered normal dimensions. "Welcome home," he said, when Captain Yoonji came aboard the new station. "Thank you," she replied. "But we never really left. We were always here, just waiting for you to be ready to see us again." The integration process began immediately. Joint research stations were established where species that wanted to learn dimensional manipulation could work alongside human teachers. The process was voluntary, and Dr. Jaewon made sure everyone understood that it couldn't be rushed. "Dimensional awareness develops naturally over many generations," he explained to the first group of students. "We can teach you the basics, but your species will need time to evolve into full dimensional consciousness." Not every species chose to participate. The Altarians decided that their crystal-based technology was sufficient for their needs. The Cetaceans preferred to focus on exploring the deep oceans of their worlds rather than the depths of space. Several military cultures rejected dimensional technology entirely, fearing it would make traditional warfare obsolete. The humans respected every choice. Species that wanted to work with them received help and teaching. Species that wanted to be left alone were left alone. No one was forced to change or accept improvements they didn't want, but the benefits of human presence continued to spread. Trade routes became safer as dimensional anomalies were repaired. Communication across the galaxy became faster as humans showed other species how to use dimensional channels for instant messaging. Even basic space travel became easier as the fundamental forces of space were tuned to be more friendly to conscious beings. Young-Ho, the technician who had first discovered the improvements on Harmony Point, was promoted to head the new Department of Human Galactic Integration Technologies. His job was to study and document the changes that human presence brought to normal space. "It's amazing," he told his team during their first official meeting. "Every system works better when humans are around, not because they're fixing our equipment, but because they're fixing the space our equipment operates in." The most dramatic changes happened in the former Forbidden Zone. With human guidance, the twisted space that had been deadly for thousands of years was gradually healed. The quantum storms calmed down. The reality fractures were sealed. Within a year, the zone was safe enough for normal ships to enter. Exploration teams discovered wonders that had been hidden in the dimensional chaos. Planets with unique properties that could only exist in twisted space. Energy sources that could power entire civilizations. Even evidence of other species that had learned to exist in multiple dimensions. Captain Yunji established her permanent headquarters on a space station built partially in normal space and partially in higher dimensions. Visitors could experience what dimensional existence felt like without committing to the full transformation. "We're not trying to make everyone like us," she explained to a gathering of galactic leaders. "Every species has its own path to growth. We're just showing you that there are more paths available than you might have thought." The galaxy began to change in ways both subtle and dramatic. Conflicts between species decreased as dimensional. Communication made it easier to understand different perspectives. Environmental problems were solved as humans helped repair damaged ecosystems. Even art and culture flourished as species discovered new ways to express themselves using dimensional techniques. Not everything was perfect. Some groups still opposed human integration and worked to undermine the new partnerships. A few species worried that they would become dependent on human improvements and lose their independence. There were accidents as species tried to use dimensional technology before they were ready. But overall, the galaxy was healthier, safer, and more vibrant than it had been for thousands of years. The Great War that had created the Forbidden Zone was finally being healed. The fear and suspicion that had divided species for so long was slowly being replaced by cooperation and understanding. As Young-Ho stood in his office, looking out at the stars that seemed brighter and more alive than ever before, he thought about how much had changed since that first impossible detection on his monitoring station. Humanity had returned from the dead, but they hadn't come back seeking revenge or conquest. They had come back as teachers, showing the galaxy what it could become if it was willing to grow beyond its current limitations. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in generations, it looked bright with possibility. The age of dimensional consciousness had begun, and humanity, the species that everyone thought was extinct, had become the guides leading other species toward a larger understanding of what it meant to be alive in an infinite universe.